Gonzalez here with undefeated featherweight Albert Chop Chop Gonzalez, now ranked in the top 15 by both the IBF and the WBO. And man, I gotta get this joke out the way, man. You gotta meet DeMarcus Corley. You know the
Yeah,
original Chop Chop, right?
definitely. I definitely got to meet him. I didn't get to truly meet. I met him one time, but I don't think he knew who I was yet or anything like that. I didn't tell him about my name. I got to meet him, real cool dude. I just don't think he knew who I was. So maybe down the line, when maybe he kind of, God willing, gets to see one of my fights or something like that. Hopefully, I'll be able to live up to his name in a good way.
There's got to be a ceremony or something you guys set up where he bestows upon you the Chop Chop mantle.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, you guys couldn't be too much different though. He was a southpaw, long range guys. You chop guys down, but man, let
Yeah.
me get into that nickname, man. I think you told me, correct me if I'm wrong. It was early in your career, and I asked why they call you Chop Chop, and you said your teeth, right?
Yeah. Because of my teeth, I have right now, kind of, thank God, in a way. I mean, my teeth are still big, but I kind of grew into them. But when I was smaller, my teeth stood out a lot. So that was originally where the name came from, because my big teeth.
Yeah, and respectfully, even in young adulthood, you've grown into them because I do remember them looking bigger on you when I
Mhm.
interviewed you years ago. So
Yeah, exactly. So little by little.
they call it glowing up. You're glowing up now, I
Yes, sir. Thank
guess.
God. Huh? Thank God.
But okay, but seriously though, I think, and you tell me what you think. I think it's also a good nickname for you because of the way your punches come out. They're short, compact, chopping shots, and I've seen you in these last two fights in particular chopping guys down with those short chopping shots. Do you think it's a good nickname because of the that element to your style too?
Definitely, for sure. And it's funny because it's funny how it had nothing to do with my boxing style or nothing like that, but the way it just kind of came together. And like you said, my style, I just feel like it was just almost meant to be. It was not something that we try to force, or it was not something that we try to steal from Chop Chop Corley or anything like that. It was just simply because I was just a kid with big teeth, but down the line just kind of fit perfectly, and it just stuck.
I noticed, Emmanuel Stewart, he would talk about, and Joe Lewis. They would say the secret to a great fighter is good balance.
Mhm.
And I noticed you have very good balance and technique. How much is that? How much of that is the philosophy of Robert Garcia and you being very, cognizant of your balance at all times?
Yes, sir. It has to do with just the Robert Garcia Boxing Academy. You have so many different styles. You got so many different fighters that are capable of doing many different things. And what I love about the gym, about the stable, about the environment is it's not just only Robert in your ear. You got Vergil Ortiz's dad in your ear. Then you got Raymond Muratalla's dad in your ear. You got all of these great champions. And then not only that, but even the fighters as well. I try my best to always try to build a relationship with just not just the champions, but just everybody all around. Because one thing I do know in this sport is we're always student of the game. There's never in this sport, you never know too much. There's always going to be something that you can always pick up off of somebody that can be barely starting, or as a world champion that's already rich, whatever the case may be. So I believe it has a lot to do with just the fact of me being there and being able to being open with all of the fighters and just talking to them about, oh, this, oh, that, how do you do this, how do you do that, a bunch of these things, even like a lot of my body shots, things like that. I was never at first I was never really a big body puncher. That was something Robert instilled in me. But as Robert started instilling it to me, and then I started watching Vergil, I started watching these guys, the way they would do it. So then I would start asking them, like, because I felt a little awkward doing it like this, or so now we're kind of, hey, how do you do it when you do this? How do you do that? Or and then just little by little start adding it when I'd be shadow boxing, when I'd be punching the bags, and then eventually it just kind of starts sticking. Starts sticking because you're watching all these guys. Not only would I be watching, but thank God I would ask. I would talk to them, and then you just pick up, you pick up, and then you apply it in sparring little by little, and then from there it just I was able to add it into my arsenal.
No, thank you, man. You're giving us a deeper perspective on what's making that gym so on fire right now. I didn't realize Guys like Raymond and Vergil's dad weren't just really focusing on their sons, but even talking to other fighters in the gym, kind of remaining trainers,
Yeah,
still. Yeah.
for sure. That's something that's tight about the gym. Sometimes I'll be sparring, and then Virgil's dad will get mad at me like, "Hey, what are you doing? Oh, okay, my bad. Boom. Sometimes Raymond's dad. Sometimes my dad. Sometimes Robert. Sometimes Pita. Sometimes so it's so much talent in that gym. Sometimes it's not even the trainers. Sometimes it's the fighters.
Hmm.
Sometimes
Hmm.
our teammates. Sometimes our teammates. Hey, Chop, do this. So I just think that's what makes the gym so great is because everybody works as a team effort to make each other better. Nobody sits there and tries to kind of downplay anybody in a way like, oh, don't tell him this because he's gonna get no. And for everybody, we all kind of understand that we can learn from anybody. So everybody always kind of thank God puts in their sometimes their little pointers and or sometimes they'll even ask me like sometimes I'll spar my sparring partners when we're done. Me and my sparring partner will ask each other like, "Hey, how did you feel me today? How'd you what?" And then we talk like that. Hey, when you did this, that was nice, but I was able to catch on when you did whatever the case may be. So it's just a sense of communication all around that makes I believe the gym so good, so great.
Yeah, it sounds like a special time in that gym right now, from what you're telling
Sure,
me.
definitely.
Um, I heard on the telecast, the commentators were talking during your Leonardo Baez fight that there was a time they didn't take you to the amateur tournaments. You were a talented kid in the gym, but not fully committed. Do you remember? Can you recall a time or a moment in your journey where that it clicked for you? Like I am going to be fully committed now. Was there something that happened or a certain moment you could recall?
Yeah. So honestly, when I fully got committed was when I had my daughter and I was working at the time. This was I had fought already before, and it was a great reminder of the great feeling, things like that. But I didn't have the discipline to stay on track, to stay eating healthy, to stay going to the gym. I'd go to the gym twice, maybe 3 times a week, and then I'd want to go hang out. But what truly made me disciplined was when I had my daughter. When I had my daughter, I was working at the time, and it was something that me and my dad always shared a bond in boxing, and so I'd go and I'd work, but and this time too, this one my brother had just got killed, rest in peace, and so mentally I wasn't all there. Mentally I wasn't all there. So I'd go to work because I understood my wife. We have a daughter. I have to work. I have to provide, but it wasn't something that was mentally keeping me healthy. It wasn't something so then my dad told me like, let's go to the gym and maybe like that you'll be able to distress yourself. And that's all it went from. It wasn't me. Okay, I'm gonna become a pro boxer or nothing. It was just being able to. And then I remember the first time I went to the gym and I worked out. I remember I'm hitting the bags and I'm crying. I was crying because it just felt like a sense like I felt my brother's presence almost with me, but I just missed him and I know with everything going on. So I'm hitting the bags and I'm by myself and I'm crying. And after that gym session, like, man, I remember I'm taking off my hand wraps, but I finally feel kind of like at peace. Like I can just like breathe, like not so much weight on my shoulders, not so much like I don't know how to be able to explain it, but I just felt yeah, like I could say almost so much weight on my shoulders because I had a daughter coming in, but at the same time, I had bad thoughts in my head of I have to do this, I have to do that, whatever. Like, so it was just so much negative. The only positive thing was I had was my daughter, which was making me kind of try to. But other than that, it was so many bad thoughts going in my head. So when I was done with that first training session, that was the first time I kind of felt peace. Like I was able to breathe and just kind of like breath of fresh air. Just and I was like, man, I need this. I need this. So then I started going more, and I started going more, and that started helping me. That started helping me, and then eventually my dad's like, hey, because I was working at this time, so my dad's like, hey, I could get you sparring, and they'll pay for you. They'll pay for you to spar this. So, but these are world champions. And I'm like, wait a minute, like I don't think I'm at that level yet. He's like, look, they're gonna pay for you, they're gonna pay your gas, everything, and they're gonna to pay you so that you can spar and you won't have to be working like that no more, whatever it is. So I was like, all right then. So at first, I'm not gonna lie, if it wasn't for my dad, I wouldn't have taken that leap of faith because I personally, I told myself like, I'm not at that level. These guys are world champions, and at the time it was Brandon Figueroa.
Mm,
It was when he was gonna fight Stephen Fulton in the first fight,
mm-hmm.
and then from there I went to go spar him. They started paying me. The guy liked me, and he tells me, hey, if you don't have, because he asked me, what do you? I was like, I don't got no fight. I'm just training. He's like, I can get you on the undercard. I can. And then from there, it was just like me and my dad kind of we talked to each other and we're like, well, we're in it, we're in deep and let's see what and man, thank God I'm here now.
That's incredible, man. So you were a teenage father?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My I was 18 years old when we had my daughter.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for opening up and
Yes,
sharing
sir.
that. You mentioned sparring with Figueroa back as a teenager, getting ready for title fights. Who have you either sparred the most rounds with? And I'm talking championship level guys, no, and who do you get the best sparring out of, in that academy?
And the Robert Garcia Boxing Academy were just
Yeah.
throughout my whole career.
But either one. Either one.
In the Robert Garcia Boxing Academy, definitely Bam. Because around this time, that's when I started sparring Bam. At this time, I was fighting 122. Bam was a 112 pounder, and he had just jumped. I had sparred him for that camp when he jumped up to fight 115 when he fought Cuadras. And I remember for that camp, man, Bam was a monster. Like I'm talking about, like I said, I had my daughter. So and me and my dad, we always told ourselves, like, this is not something that I'm doing as a hobby anymore. Like we're gonna go all in on this. So I always tried my best to take it as serious as possible. So I remember I'm sparring. We got the opportunity to spar Bam. So me and my dad were like, hopefully they like our sparring so we could keep getting that experience. And I'm talking about I would do 6 rounds with Bam and I would give him my all. And I'd come out tired. I couldn't even hit the bag. If I hit the bag, my arms were just, I was so tired. And I see Bam still do 6 more rounds, 8 more rounds after. Like I step out and they put another guy in, and he's still with the same punch output, same energy levels, everything as the way he's sparring me. And I'm like, man, this dude's a monster. But I remember sparring him, and that was something that was in my mind, like, dude. And at this time, he wasn't gonna spar Cuadras yet. He was getting ready for just another fight of his. And then a week notice, that's when they switched the opponent. Boom. So I already knew who Cuadras was from. I watched him before, stuff like that. So then I thought, this is a tough fight. But I'm like, this dude Bam is different. Like there was no doubt in my mind. And then when he blew Cuadras out, everybody was shocked. But I was like, nah. And then that just in my mind would just made me think like, yeah, I'm not hanging in with this dude like doing 12 rounds. But I'm like, if I could do 6 rounds and I'm not getting stopped or nothing, I'm like, and this guy's something different. That's something that boosted my confidence up to be like, I belong here. I belong here for sure. And I barely had about 5 pro fights. So I wasn't, but I just told myself if I can hang with this guy, there's no other 4 6 round fighter that can really do much to me.
He lets you know the absolute bar and where you stack up and where you got to get to, and
Yeah,
if you can get there, if you have what it takes to get there. And
yeah, definitely.
when you spar with him, all the time you spent in the ring with him, because is it like sparring an artist? Is it like an artist in the ring? Is it like, truly he's something special, not just good or great, but like,
Yeah.
you know what
It's
I mean?
it's
Yeah.
it's almost the best way I could explain it is like trying to solve a Rubik's cube. You're trying to solve a Rubik's cube, and then you think you're solving it. You got one side of it, and then next thing you know, you turn it around, and all the other colors are all mixed around. Now you got to. So my thing is, one round, I think, okay, I'm doing something right, and then the next round, all that went out the window, and he's doing different thing. Now so it was always so hard to spar him because this guy adapts to you very quick. Like sometimes I would think like, okay, I know but what I realized, and that's something that I picked up for myself, is what he would do is he kind of let you get comfortable and making your mistakes, whatever it is, and then from one round to another, he's just capitalizing on everything. And then he's not giving you a chance to be able to reset, to rethink nothing, because now he's just on you. Now he's just constant pressure. Maybe it doesn't necessarily him punching you, but he's just in front of you, and then you lean to try to throw. He steps back, boom, boom. He steps around. But he's on you. He's on you. So now you're kind of in a panic mode. Like I went from thinking I'm okay, I'm doing good, to what's going on. So I feel like the best way I could explain is like a Rubik's cube. You solve one side and you think, okay, I got this, and then you look at the other sides, and in order for you to solve the other sides, you gotta redo the whole thing again, and it's very complicated.
Yeah, I could talk to you for an hour about boxing, but I'll keep it going quick because there's other people waiting to talk. But one more thing about with you and Bam and Raymond, I see does the shoulder roll. You do the shoulder roll in the pocket. Bam will do the shoulder roll. A lot of Mexican and Mexican American fighters aren't necessarily known for that look. Is that something Robert and Peter are teaching you, or is it something like you told me earlier, you guys trading information in the gym with all the coaches, all the fighters, or is that something you guys on your own explore and they allow it? They allow you guys to explore that to your style, or what is that?
Yeah, yeah. So it's something like you just said. It's something that we kind of on our own explore. So I'm a big boxing fanatic. I love Floyd. I love watching Floyd. My brother, we used to always sit down, and my brother used to always make me watch tape of Floyd because of how great his defense was, and his shoulder roll, things like that. So that was something that me and my brother used to work on when we were younger, things like that. I was just never, like I said, I took a lot of time off, so I stopped boxing. But as my career started and stuff like that, I love watching boxing. So the shoulder roll was something that I was always intrigued by, but never really got to master. So in sparring, things like that, from time to, I would try it, and that's what I love about Robert and them is they don't sit there and they tell me don't. Sometimes yeah, if you're getting hurt and you keep getting caught, and it's like, hey, pick that hand up, But then they'll tell me like, okay, if you're gonna do this, make sure that you step around where you have the right hand tuck, whatever. So what their thing is like, okay, if you're gonna try it, because that's what sparring is for, to try new things to kind of to add into your arsenal. So like if you what they tell me more of is like, if you're gonna try this, just make sure you're doing this and not doing that. They don't want me to create bad habits trying something new. So that's one thing that I like about them is I'll go back to the corner and they'll tell me like, hey, when you do the shoulder roll, do this, or don't. If you're gonna do the shoulder roll, don't keep your head out high. Little things like that. And that's kind of like a little bit of how that goes. It's not something that they tell me do it or don't do it. It's just like, okay, if you're gonna do it, just don't do this. Be careful for this.
Lastly, man, last one for you. Your fight next Saturday, San Bernardino. Um, Brandon Chambers, 12-4 fighter. The only time he's lost by knockout is Bruce Shushu Carrington, the featherweight champ right now. Do you think of things like that at all? Like, I want to meet that mark and also knock him out to get to that mark, or what are your thoughts on this fight and that in
Yeah,
particular?
I've done that before, and me and Shishu had shared an opponent that we had both fought. He had fought him first, and I made that mistake that I seen Shishu went to distance with him, and I thought I want to make a statement. I want to get this guy out of here, and then I overcomplicated things in that fight, and which didn't make me look so good. So one thing I learned from that fight is not to compare myself to nobody else. I do what I do, what I'm trained to do. I gotta crawl before I walk, and before I go in there trying to knock this guy's head off, I gotta fight my style. And as I'm fighting, I'll be able to see, because sometimes when you go in there with the point, trying to prove a point, and then it's not going the way you expected it. Sometimes it doesn't work out in your favor. So I'm not really gonna pay attention to what Shushu did to him, things like that. I know that Shushu did stop him and things like that, but I'm gonna go in there, and I'm not gonna take this guy lightly. I'm not gonna underestimate him. At the same time, I'm gonna do what I do, and if I see I could get him out of there earlier, then I will. If I see, okay, this guy's tough, whatever it is, then I'll take my time. It's a 10 rounder. I got no rush. I trained for a 10 round fight. So if it gotta last a little longer, there's no problem with that, as long as we get the job done. That's it.
Appreciate you, Albert. Best have a good fight next Saturday, man, and
Thank,
looking forward to your career continuing on, man. Thanks for your
thank
time.
you, Sean. Appreciate it.